Here in the studio tonight are Shiri Fine-Grossman, formerly from Israel's NSC, and Dr. Eric Mandel, founder and director of MEPIN. Yeah, MEPIN. Yeah, the Middle East Political and Information Network. Thank you for coming, both of you. Well, Shiri, the biggest question, are we going to have a deal eventually?
In the couple of days, I don't think so. Look, strategically, it doesn't seem like we're heading in that direction, but we never know because there are a lot of unknowns. We don't know exactly how much Sinwar really wants this deal, or does he prefer a regional escalation, which is a lot of people have been saying that's what he wanted all along. So if he signs a deal that allegedly prevents a regional war, that doesn't make any logic. So we don't know. We don't know if Iran wants a full escalation or not, if it's willing to pay the price. If it is, it will, push for him to say no. If it really doesn't want to, it will push on Sinwar to say yes. So there's so many scenarios, but we know there is a gap here that is essential, which is that Hamas wants a full ceasefire in the end of this deal, and the Israeli government wants Hamas gone. And those two just don't fuse together. And the only issue really is the hostages, and that's the real issue. No matter if we didn't have the hostages, if Hamas didn't have that leverage, we wouldn't be at this point whatsoever.
Right, Eric, do you believe that there's a deal in the pipeline tonight?
First of all, I keep hearing people, when I was in Congress briefing just a week or so ago, people keep saying, well, do the deal, you release the hostages. But it's not all the hostages. People just sort of throw that out. Every life is important, and whether it's 12, 14, 16, of course you want to get them out. But people also have to realize that the hostages that are going to remain are going to be even more difficult to get out. If there was a deal, and maybe nobody should have ever accepted the idea that it wasn't everything, but of course Hamas does not want to do that. That is its main leverage. I agree with you that it's to their advantage to have the North go on fire. They're disappointed Iran has not struck yet. Sinwar is letting the Americans do the pressure, and America is in a political season.
Right. Well, obviously we'll talk more about that, but let's go now to the families. Families of Israeli hostages have been going through hell for over 10 months now. Emily Francis is standing by live in Tel Aviv with the families. Emily.
So yeah, there's hundreds of people have been gathering here. A different location. We're at Independence Hall on Rothschild, where families are going to be doing yet another march all the way to Hostage Square. It's expected to take an hour. This is quite a long walk, of course, driving home the point that the deal needs to be made now. This as there are members of the negotiating team in Doha right now. So if you take a look behind me, you can see people are starting to walk literally right now. They're starting their walk. There's also all kinds of different emblems and indications of how much this country is rallying behind the families and the importance of bringing the hostages home. Of course, it's a concerted effort that is, the momentum is still strong in spite of the fact that the families are used to being disappointed every time that they've had these meetings. We're all, of course, hoping that this time it will be different. Also pressure from rabbis. About 100 rabbis from the U.S. wrote a letter asking the government to take this deal very seriously, and now it's literally a matter of time to see what happens. But in the meantime, this group is going to be going on a long walk, and we will be in Hostage Square once they get there.
Yeah, Emily, we've seen so many marches and demonstrations and whatnot over the past 10 months. Tell us a little bit about the spirit there on this very dramatic day.
I have to be honest, Jacob, some days have been very, very loud, people angry, people scared. Today, you just see people seem kind of subdued. I think there's just kind of a defeated kind of mood. And maybe that's kind of part and parcel with the fact it's the only way to self-protect while these meetings are happening. So maybe it's also a protection mechanism, but not as much vitriol and anger as in some of the other times that they've had these events.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. We'll be happy to get more updates from you later. By the way, we are expecting the IDF spokesperson, Daniel Agari, to speak momentarily. We'll bring that live to you and see what's happening. Back to the studio here, Shiri. The deal. We don't know exactly what are the details of any proposed deal there. Obviously, Israel would like to get all the hostages. Not sure we'll be able to get all of them at once. But these things are changing all the time.
Yeah, so this is a highly delicate situation. It's not the first time. It's been dozens of times since we've been at these situations similar to this one. The devil is literally in the details. You know, they have supposedly Netanyahu put a deal in place with some principles, but then you have to actually, you know, take each article and try to you know, figure out how it's going to work. And sometimes either the deal is delayed because you can't work out those details, or that, like we saw in the hostage deal a few months ago, where they were released and then there was a breach, or the Israeli side thought it was a breach, and then it stopped it in the middle of the deal. So these you know, misunderstanding or lack of communication, these are things that are important to clarify, but they take time, and again, it all comes down to the hostages, because the assumption is they're running out of time, and many of them are not alive anymore, and each day that passes by, there might be some more, you know, people joining that list.
I think Hagari, from the IDF spokesperson, may talk about this as well momentarily. Also, White House National Security spokesman John Kirby, in an interview on CNN, says Iran has not moved off its threat to attack Israel.
Information that we have tells us that Iran has not moved off its threat to launch some kind of an attack on Israel, perhaps even using their proxies as well, like Hezbollah or the Houthis. So our assumption is that their thinking is still in that vein, that they're going to do something, and it could happen you know, in coming days. It could come nearly at any time now. So we're watching it real closely. We're going to make sure we're ready, and we are.
So back to the studio. We're keep waiting in Israel for something supposedly to happen, but can this diffuse the whole thing, a deal, if it's reached over there in Doha?
In theory, people make assumptions, but this part of the world thinks differently. First of all, they have strategic patience. They don't have to attack now. And if they did want to attack, and people think kinetically from Iran to Israel, they don't want it to have a failure like the last time. Second, they do have soft targets. They could do Mossad locations around the world. They can do Jewish locations around the world. But we are on a Western timetable. Wants to have, you're expected to attack. Come on, attack already. But they are smart. Evil can be smart, and they are strategizing. Will they attack? This is part of a very long war. It is part of their DNA to destroy Israel. And this is just another chapter, phase in the war that's going on. Right now, Israel has created some deterrence. How are they going to address it? And how is Israel going to respond? Anything's possible. But of course, this is tied into Gaza, tied into Hezbollah, tied into the horrible plight of the hostages.
Right. They also, Shiri, insist on eye for an eye. So if there was an attack on Iranian soil, the response should be, according to this logic, on Israeli soil.
Well, that's part of the debate that's going on right now in Iran. It's again coming back to the question I raised earlier: do they want an escalation, or prepared to deal with the consequences, or not? You know, strategically, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like the strategy of Iran just went raw a little bit more than they wanted, because it was very convenient for them to use its proxies from Yemen, from Hezbollah, from Lebanon, from Iraq, etc., and try to take down Jordan as well, which would be catastrophic consequences for Israel. I think they're really thinking of contemplating what will be the right kind of response. I think Israel has created some deterrence with very forceful messages that Iran has a lot to lose, and it has a lot to lose. There's a lot of people in Israel, and including in the cabinet room, who believe this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hit Iran in strategic places, especially in its nuclear program, and take it back to take it back a few years or months. Any time you take it back, it's better than where we are. So they understand. I think this crazy actor strategy that we've seen both in the Trump administration and a little bit in what Israel is doing, because if Israel didn't admit it, it's kind of this very odd move that I don't think anyone in Iran thought it would do. It just doesn't align with this tit for tat that we had. So they should wonder if Israel is actually trying to take that, because they know the Biden administration will be there to protect Israel, why they don't know the identity of the next administration.
Right.